Nigeria is about to offer citizenship in exchange for investment. Nigeria's House of Representatives has moved forward a citizenship by investment bill, allowing foreign investors to become Nigerian citizens if they meet certain financial requirements. If passed, Nigeria will join Egypt and Mauritius as one of the few African nations offering formal CBI programs. Egypt's plan requires a $250,000 investment, while Mauritius offers a permanent residency for $375,000 in real estate. So the big question is, what will Nigeria's investment threshold be? Experts suggest Nigeria's program could include investments in real estate, government bonds, petroleum, manufacturing, or tech. This move could attract high net worth individuals and entrepreneurs looking to tap into Africa's largest economy. If implemented, this could boost foreign direct investments and reshape Nigeria's economic landscape. Do you think Nigeria's CBI program will succeed, or will it create controversies? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
All right. So today we are talking about
Nigeria is about to
Nigeria's investment potential, investment or citizenship by investment strategy, and also the potential for the citizenship by DNA. We're going to talk about what's been out there, what's been wrong, what's been right, and how we're going to debunk those lies. Give me 1 second, because of course we're having some technical difficulties. So give me 1 second. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me, and let me know where you guys are watching from. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you can hear me and where you guys are watching from. We are going to be going live in just a moment. There was a slight issue with the live stream, so we are going to try this again, make sure we get it right. And so give us a moment. We just want to make sure we get this right and get everybody on the live stream. So if you guys can hear me, let me know. Give me a thumbs up and let me know where you're watching from. Again, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up and let you know where you're watching from. All right. So we got Anne-Marie, who's watching from London. For whatever reason, I can't be fully added to the stage now. It's a very strange process. There we go. Much better. So Anne-Marie said you can hear me from London. Let's see. Who else do we have? We got Anne-Marie can hear me from London. Jada Faith is watching from Webster, New York. Manelik is in the house. All right, cool. So for those of you who are just joining us, we today are going to be talking about Nigeria's citizenship by investment and citizenship by DNA programs that have been much talked about online with a lot of misinformation. And so we're going to give you all the information you need to know for Africans living in the diaspora, people of African descent, how you can get your citizenship in Nigeria. So once again, we're talking about citizenship in Nigeria. We got the Laser Shot 100, loud and clear from London. Nice. We got some people watching from TikTok. What's up, guys, on TikTok? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up and let me know where you guys are watching from. All right, cool. So it looks like we got a few folks in the room. So let's get into this to begin with, because I think the first thing we need to do is we need to debunk kind of some of the lies, the misinformation that's out there. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of misinformation. And I like to use these live streams to try to help people get a better understanding of things. But before we do, as we're getting in, I should probably start with an introduction, right? Because not everybody here is familiar with me. So welcome to Pan-African Perspectives, where we dive into the real life experiences of visiting Africa, moving to the continent of Africa, investing in African ventures, and buying land, all with the ultimate goal of advancing Africa and restoring it to its rightful place on the world stage. So our mission is to support independent Africa and empower African people. I'm Joe Hatagwa, your host, founder of Authentic African. Each week, I'll either share my experiences, news of things happening on the continent, and we'll also make sure that we interview folks who are moving back and forth and or who have made the complete move to the continent of Africa. Again, in this episode of Pan-African Perspectives, We're going to talk about Nigeria's groundbreaking initiatives for reconnecting with citizens or Africans in the diaspora. There's a Citizenship by DNA program that has been discussed. We'll talk about that more. The Citizenship by Investment program that is being voted on. We'll talk about that more. And I'll break down how these efforts aim to empower individuals with African ancestry and attract global investment to Nigeria. So we're going to highlight the steps, and we're going to talk about what's real and what's not. Because again, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So if you guys are watching and you're interested in finding out what is real and what's not, then this live stream is for you. Manelik says, like, share, and support the channel. Absolutely. Said you can hear me. Kwame says you can hear me as well in Georgia. What do we got on IG? Is anybody here from IG? Okay, so Amir is watching from Nigeria. All right, nice. We got Bless. What is it? Best Beyond Measure. Okay. North Carolina. Native Gardens is from Miami Beach. I'll be in Miami in a couple of weeks. Laced by Ada is watching from the French Caribbean. Okay. Pastor Catherine Smith, long time. Pastor Catherine, checking in from Houston. It's been a minute. Okay, who else do we got in the building? Okay, we got a bunch of folks. Don't have time to go through everyone, but I did just want to make sure we are on track and to get this thing started. So again, today, if you're just joining, shout out to Ibiola, aka Allison, watching on TikTok. If you're just joining for the first time, I'm Joe Hatago, the host. We're going to be talking about citizenship in Nigeria. There's been a lot of misinformation, and it's time to talk about it. So we've talked about citizenship on many different occasions on this platform, right? We've talked about citizenship in Sierra Leone. We've talked about citizenship in Ghana. We've talked about citizenship in Benin. And there's been some misinformation that we've debunked. There's been some good information that we've added to. And now we have more information to debunk and make sure you guys are well aware of, because it is a little bit hard to understand who's offering citizenship, how they're offering citizenship, how do you, what are the requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let me just get into just kind of the basics, right? Let's start around the basics of Nigerian citizenship, because I think this is really important. And by the way, I just realized something through this research, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'm really excited to share that I potentially can get Nigerian citizenship. But first, let's put this up on the screen so you guys can see it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. What do we got? So we're going to go through a presentation and some videos where I'm going to walk you through very specific details about citizenship in Nigeria. So you guys are going to have to let me know if you guys can see this, but it looks like it's up on the screen. So first things first, there's no new pathways today, immediately, right? So let's just get that out of the way to begin with. I know that everybody thinks that because it's been said on the internet by someone who has a large following that it's true. And that is not the case. All right. So to be clear, there's been a conference with African Ancestry, the folks who bring you ancestry based on DNA and by tribe. And they are, of course, one of the approved vendors for Sierra Leone citizenship. And they also do trips to Nigeria. In one of their trips recently, there was a conference where they met with some members of parliament in Nigeria. There's also a proposal being voted on by for citizenship by investment. But again, today, there is nothing pertaining to these two today, just for Africans who live in the diaspora. Well, so I should say African Americans, or those who are living in the Great Britain area, anybody who's born and raised outside of the continent of Africa, many years removed from Nigeria. There are some exceptions depending on how many generations removed you are, which we'll talk about. But these things in terms of DNA and citizenship by investment are not available today. So I just want to say that right now, just get that out the way. They are not available today. So right now, I'm going to walk you through what is available today so that we can get a little bit more clarity on the process for citizenship and what we're talking about here. So first things first, here are the options available in their entirety today, right? So for clarity, there is, and these are based on Nigeria's citizenship laws, are governed by Chapter 3 of the 1999 Constitution and other relevant statutes. So basically, the citizenship by birth is automatically granted to individuals who meet the following criteria. They're born to parents who are Nigerian citizens, regardless of birth, a place of birth. So if your parents were born in Nigeria and you were born outside of Nigeria, you can be a citizenship by birth just because your parents were born there. Very similar to Sierra Leone, right? If you're born in Nigeria with at least one grandparent who is Nigerian or belong to an indigenous community of Nigeria prior to independence. So those are the two ways that you can get citizenship by birth. Is a constitutional right in Nigeria. This pathway does not require an application process, but may involve obtaining legal recognition through a birth certificate or national identification. Second is citizenship by registration. This applies to specific categories of individuals. So spouses of Nigerians and persons of Nigerian descent. So what does that mean? Foreign women married to Nigerian men can apply for citizenship by registration. Foreign men married to Nigerian women may qualify under special immigrant status after 5 years of marriage. So there is a difference between if a foreign man marries a Nigerian woman versus if a Nigerian man, a Nigerian man marries a foreign woman, right? So there is a difference in the law for Nigerian women and Nigerian men for the people they marry outside of Nigeria. So let me explain that again. Foreign women married to Nigerian men can apply for citizenship by registration. So if it's a Nigerian man and the woman is from somewhere else, they can apply for citizenship by registration and simply get their citizenship. If it's a foreign man married to a Nigerian woman, they may qualify under what is called special immigrant status and after 5 years of marriage. Okay? And then, so that's for spouses of Nigerians under the citizenship by registration. Now, there's a persons of Nigerian descent, not to be confused with DNA. So we're talking about a very recent relative that is of Nigerian descent or who's Nigerian. So what does that look like? So that's number one. Individuals born outside of Nigeria who can prove that their parent, grandparent, or great grandparent was a Nigerian citizen. Interestingly enough, I have a great grandparent that was a Nigerian citizen. Now, I don't know how I can prove that, but I do have a great grandparent that was a Nigerian citizen. So technically, if I can prove that, I can actually become a Nigerian citizen. I was not aware of this until doing the research on this because of the other things that they were talking about. But I'm going to look into this and see if I can get my Nigerian citizenship, because my mother's grandfather, which is a great grandparent, immigrated from Nigeria to Sierra Leone, married a Sierra Leonean woman, and had children, which ended up being my mother's father, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, my mother's father was the child of a Nigerian immigrant and a Sierra Leonean national. So I myself technically can qualify if I can prove that great grandparent lineage. Okay, they were of Yoruba, heritage and culture. All right. Now, there's this third section. So, right, we did citizenship by birth. We did citizenship by registration, right? Which is either, the constitutional right is by birth. We explained what that looks like. The citizenship by registration, marriage to or through Nigerian ancestry, recent Nigerian ancestry. We just talked about that. There's a third process. Sorry, I didn't even mention this. It's citizenship by naturalization. And that is, okay, yes, available to foreigners who have legally resided in Nigeria for at least 15 years and meet the following conditions: demonstrate good character, no criminal record, show evidence of socioeconomic contributions to Nigeria, understand and respect Nigerian customs and traditions. So these are all pretty lengthy processes for getting citizenship. So people have been looking at, how do I expedite this process? So now we're going to get into the two new proposed pathways. But before we do, let me make sure there aren't any more questions, comments, thoughts, concerns from the folks online. So let me see. David said that's messed up for the men. Well, yeah, I guess so. It is it's an interesting take. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there are many people who have questions about this, and there's so many videos online who talk about the citizenship by marriage difference between men and women in Nigeria. We're not here to debate that. If you guys want to get into the details of that and you guys want to debate that back and forth, there are plenty of videos elsewhere where you can do that. This is specifically just talking about what's available today, and then we're going to talk about what are the proposed pathways. So again, there's two new proposed pathways: citizenship by DNA, diaspora, and citizenship by investment, which is pending legislation. So the next slide I'm going to show you actually has more of the details, which I just realized I just read through. So again, just to recap all of that: born to Nigerian parents anywhere, born in Nigeria with Nigerian grandparents. That's the citizenship by birth. It's automatic, but requires a birth certificate or ID registration. Citizenship by registration: spouses of Nigerians, 5-year plus marriage, etc., etc. We've talked about it. It's different for men and women. There's some requirements here: proof of ancestry, birth certificate, marriage certificates, guarantor references. So you do have to have guarantors. And in citizenship by naturalization, again, that actually is required to presidential approval after security checks. So that is actually a president has to approve that last section there. So that is what's in place today. That's the recap. You guys got it now. Let me know if you have any questions, but that should be pretty clear. Now, let's get into the new proposed legislation and citizenship potential options that there are. So I'm going to jump into a video now, which speaks to why people are so eager to get this citizenship. And then we will give you some details and some commentary on the other side.
Black people, we were not counted in the population statistics as people. We were counted as commodities, as assets. No names, no languages, no connection to our ancestors, and our families sold apart. Mothers and fathers sold apart, children and parents sold apart. We don't know who we are. There were no population statistics until 18 as Black people.
Until 1870 is what she's saying. So now, again, this is, how do I fix that? There we go. All right. So that is the founder of, or one of the co-founders of African Ancestry speaking. And she's very detailed as to why so many people are looking for a different level of citizenship. So somebody's asking me, did I post this video on my page? I did not post this video on my page. This is all very new stuff, so we are just getting into it now. But there will be more content and more context to all of this coming on Instagram and all the other platforms shortly. So those of you who are following on Instagram or following elsewhere who are watching the replay, don't worry, there'll be more of this coming soon. So, as I said, citizenship in Nigeria is not so cut and dry based on some of what you might have seen online. All right. So now African Ancestry did go to Nigeria and do they had a conference with many members of parliament. And so I want to get to that video now because it was reported on local news. and then we will speak to what the details of the proposal look like in just a moment. So let's get to that now.
The National Population Commission, NPC, is enhancing its programs on identity of citizenship through issuance of attestation of birth to Nigerians of African ancestry, a commitment already getting support of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Chairman of NPC, Nasiru Issa Kwara, who made the commitment during an engagement with members of the Historic Africans Diaspora Tracing Their Roots project, includes that the planned population and housing census in Nigeria is also ensuring enumeration of the country's citizens abroad. Olushe Adiagbo has details.
Time economic exploitation of millions of black slaves still lingers, and lack of reliable statistical information on Africans taken abroad, complicating matters. African Ancestry is a channel Black Americans are using to trace their roots via DNA test.
Africans in the diaspora to the motherland.
In tone and color, Gina Peg doesn't look black, but the DNA confirms she is proudly Nigerian and a
Can I say that was a very strange thing to say? He said in tone and color, Gina Page does not look black, which I thought was interesting considering Africa has all kinds of complexions, textures, etc. But that just, you know, I just wanted to call that out. Let's go back to the video.
Hausa Fulani descent.
The Hausa. The Fulani. That is what DNA can do.
Peg is leading the campaign of reconnecting Africans to their roots, and the chairman, CEO, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabire Erewa, is committed to identifying with the cause.
From 1619 to 1869, Black people, enslaved Africans, had no identity. And so it makes sense that we would be at the National Population Commission to talk about the population statistics of the people who are coming home.
They've traced their DNA to Nigeria, and they're saying we are Nigerian, so we want our Nigerian passport. We want to come home. We want to live here. So we are welcoming them, and we're working with the Population Commission to see what processes can be put in place so that their request can be granted.
This is a big task.
It is going to be an equivalent tax, in the words of the NPC chairman, Nasiru Issa Kwara. But since it is worthwhile and identity being a fundamental human right, implementation takes immediate effect.
With our sister agencies in government, we should be able to come up with a certificate that would give them citizenship of this country. We will soon be discussing with government at the highest level the process of conducting census. So we will also create a platform that will also take the census of Nigerians in diaspora. You have helped in developing that country. Come back and help us develop Nigeria too.
Okay. Come back and help us develop Nigeria too, is what he said. So I think it's important to so I want to, sorry, let me just do this again to fix this, because for whatever reason it keeps removing from the stage. So, okay, so to be clear, right, you saw that they said there is nothing in place today, right? This is something they want to do, something they want to work on. But let's talk about what I saw as the proposed element. So there's a lot of questions. What DNA agency should be used? What percentage proof one has to show are from a specific country as a proof of from the continent? There's a lot of questions, and let's see if there are answers to those questions. Let me tell you right now, there are proposals in place, but nothing has been set in stone. Again, this project is a discussion. They're looking to set it in stone and make it legislative, but right now there isn't anything for DNA ancestry. There is just talks about doing DNA ancestry, and that's the purpose of doing this live stream, because there's a lot of people who are under the impression that something was already available. Now, Here is what they're proposing, but again, nothing set in stone, so just ideas from a high level. So number one, it's part of a broader efforts to reconnect with the diaspora, particularly individuals who can trace their ancestry back to Nigeria through genetic testing. While official documentation and processes are still evolving, the following outline the program's framework based on available information. So if you search online, you can find information talking about a potential framework. So again, the program aims to grant Nigerian citizenship to individuals of Nigerian descent who can establish biological connections through DNA testing. It seeks to strengthen ties between Nigeria and the diaspora, but there isn't any particular DNA company as of yet. They do say you have to demonstrate biological relationships in Nigerian ancestry through DNA testing, but we don't know what that looks like yet. As particularly targeted at diasporans who lack traditional documentation, such as birth certificates or family records. Of course, DNA testing usually requires taking a sample. There's accredited laboratories and companies. Consent is obviously required from all participants, including guardians for minors. The documents that might be required, they might have to submit identification documents, passport, birth certificate alongside DNA results. Additional evidence might include affidavits or other secondary records supporting claims of Nigerian ancestry. Still very unclear. Benefits for successful applicants, though, of course, is issuance of a Nigerian birth certificates and passports, recognition as citizens, enabling access to rights and privileges such as voting, property ownership, and participation in national development initiatives, starting businesses and other things too for, much cheaper prices than what it requires for other things. Now, the implementation status, again, the program is being coordinated by the National Population Commission, who met with African Ancestry. They were talking about including Nigerians in the diaspora in their census because there are so many, there are a couple million, as far as I understand, Nigerians in the diaspora, and they want to somehow count those people as part of the Nigerian population. Then there's also the the National Diaspora Commission, or NID-NIDCOM. Those are the two groups that are talking about this. Efforts are underway to streamline the application procedures and ensure accessibility for interested diasporan Nigerians. So first of all, here's some of the challenges. One, ensuring global access to accredited DNA testing centers for applicants abroad, addressing privacy concerns. You guys know that 23andMe, who is a company that was actually approved by Sierra Leone, had a data breach recently. 23andMe had a data breach recently, and it looks like they might be filing for chapter something bankruptcy, maybe chapter 11 bankruptcy. These are all things that I'm hearing. I cannot independently verify that, but that was what I have read in my research. And so you have to be careful, of course, and there's some security concerns with some of these DNA companies. They're also going to need to establish clear guidelines, right? There were some questions that were just asked to me. I don't have the answers to those questions because they have not been made public as of yet, because this process is still underway. The program represents Nigeria's commitment to reconnecting with global diaspora while fostering inclusivity and national identity. But further updates are expected as implementation progresses. Hasn't been implemented, hasn't been set in law yet, still pretty unclear. Okay, so that is the citizenship by DNA. Let's see if there's any other questions or thoughts based on that. No other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns on the citizenship by DNA for folks? Okay, here's a question. Mrs. RMB says, do you think African ancestry is safe to use? Look, it's hard to say who's safe and who's not safe to use, because at the end of the day, breaches happen all the time. I mean, you guys may not know this. If you ever had a Yahoo email address, there was a breach. I don't know if you guys know this, but previously there was a breach with Experian, one of the credit companies in the United States, many years ago. And that was, told to many people, but not everybody remembers. The state of Florida had a breach last year, like the state of Florida. Hospitals, many institutions get breached daily, weekly, monthly. And so with 23andMe having theirs, it's just one in the latest of many. I mean, these kinds of attacks happen all the time. So just because it might be quote unquote safe today may not mean it will be safe tomorrow. I used to work at Hulu, and we used to have a screen where it showed all of the attacks trying to breach into Hulu, and they had a team responsible for watching it 24-hour days, 7 days a week, and it was from all over the world. They just had they had these like lines showing where people were trying to break in, and it was North Korea, it was China, it was Russia, it was all over Europe. I mean, there are people who are state actors, there are people who are part of smaller groups. They all are trying to hack all kinds of different things. And so it's tough to say. But as of right now, African Ancestry does seem to be pretty safe. Ancestry DNA also seems to be pretty safe. Now, I don't know who Nigeria is going to select or elect as folks that they agree to approve as their certified vendors for DNA ancestry to prove your ancestry to Nigeria. But those are the two main companies that I am aware of today that people that I know utilize. Because of my own personal recent heritage and my knowledge and understanding of my background, I have yet to do any DNA ancestry. So I'm speaking based on what people tell me and their experiences, not based on my own personal experience, because I myself have not done it as of yet. I may do it. I think it might be interesting just to find out, where my DNA traces back to. But at least in terms of my recent lineage, I know that I'm one generation removed from Sierra Leone, and about 2 or 3 generations removed from a number of different countries: Guinea, Nigeria, Liberia, and maybe potentially Mali as well. So, I have a lot of West African DNA in my heritage. And so I'm interested to see what that makeup looks like by doing a couple of these tests. Just haven't done them as of yet. Maybe I'll do them sometime before the end of the year and tell you guys my results. As someone who is Sierra Leonean by recent descent, both my parents came on airplanes to the United States. And so it'd be interesting to kind of see where my heritage is. All right. So I really can't answer that question because at the end of the day, it's hard to know. I can't make any assertions on which countries or companies are the most safe to use. As far as I understand, African Ancestry actually recently answered this question about, sharing this information with law enforcement. The thing is every tech company in the United States, if they get a subpoena from a grand jury or just any judge whatsoever, every company in the United States has to share whatever it is law enforcement has come to them and asked them for. So to be very clear, if there was a subpoena requested and required, they have to abide by it. And who knows how broad reaching that could be. So maybe not today, they're not just sharing that, but that could come through a subpoena. So not sure if you guys are aware of that, but that is the case, right? That's just law. That's the law of the land in the United States. I don't know if you guys knew that, but yes, a subpoena, they have to ask to subpoena the records. And so that it does require a warrant. It requires a warrant. And so as long as they have a warrant, they can ask for that information and it must be given. So just so you guys know, doesn't matter what tech company we're talking about, all communique can be given to the US government. All right. Now let me take you to this particular video. I played it at the onset, but a bunch of you joined later. So we're going to play this video and then we're going to talk about the citizenship by investment, which I did talk about yesterday for Sierra Leone. So they're not listed in this group, which is a little bit confusing because we're not 100% sure if the Sierra Leone citizenship by investment program is set in stone or is in place. But let's talk about what Nigeria is in the process of doing, because they're much closer to legislating something that I've seen with many other companies. So let's get into it.
Citizenship in exchange for investment. Nigeria's House of Representatives has moved forward a citizenship by investment bill, allowing foreign investors to become Nigerian citizens if they meet certain financial requirements. If passed, Nigeria will join Egypt and Mauritius as one of the few African nations offering formal CBI programs. Egypt's plan requires a $250,000 investment, while Mauritius offers a permanent residency for $375,000 in real estate. So the big question is, what will Nigeria's investment threshold be? Experts suggest Nigeria's program could include investments in real estate, government bonds, petroleum, manufacturing, or tech. This move could attract high net worth individuals and entrepreneurs looking to tap into Africa's largest economy. If implemented, this could boost foreign direct investments and reshape Nigeria's economic landscape. Do you think Nigeria's CBI program will succeed, or will it create controversies? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
So the question is, will it create controversies? So let's talk about what controversies can come up from a CBI program, right? Citizenship by investment. So let's just talk about citizenship by investment. Now, I talked about this yesterday. So, but if those of you guys who were not on that live stream for Sierra Leone citizenship by investment discussion, we'll talk about it here. The United States has recently implemented a citizenship by investment program, a newer one. There are other ones, but the specific one that Trump has instituted is a $5 million citizenship by investment program. It requires $5 million investment, and you can get your citizenship. Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, during Trump's time, during Clinton's presidency, when Clinton was president of the United States, Tony Blair was the Prime Minister of the UK throughout the 90s. There was a lot of overlap between the two. So you'll probably see a lot of pictures online of Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. If you've ever seen him in the UK or them come to the United States, it was those two. Anyway, he had a citizenship by investment program. The reason why this can be a bit controversial, it's because it is a way for high net worth criminals, a lot of times, to be able to escape persecution or prosecution, I should say, in their home countries. If you have the amount required, then you can buy citizenship in other countries. Some countries allow you to change your name when you buy citizenship. So you can imagine what that looks like. So there was a lot of questions about a lot of former African leaders going to the UK and buying citizenship. There's conversations about people who live in the illicit market and play in the illicit market. They generate income through ill-gotten means, who have gotten citizenship in the UK throughout the 90s. And since then, I think that they still have the citizenship by investment program. And that is the fear, of course, with the United States as well, right? These programs do have sometimes, with anything, people with bad intentions or ill intent. And so if that's the case, I think that there are, it's with, I would say, I think it might have a good, what's the word I'm looking for? I haven't had a lot of sleep last night, but I do think, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. The idea that somebody would be concerned is normal, considering how people can go about this process. If you could just pay for citizenship, just think about how many folks who make a lot of money through the illicit market and are trying to escape getting prosecuted somewhere else. So there are some thoughts and considerations around this happening in other countries, and people think it's already happened given some of the recent news in West Africa. I'll let you guys deduce that however you want. If you've been following the platform, you know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about Nigeria's option that is potentially coming into effect. So let me put this up on the screen again so we can get this. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So this is pending legislation, but it passed the second reading in 2025. Let me see here. Yeah, it's currently in a legislative process with the Citizenship by Investment Bill passing its second reading in the House of Representatives. While exact details are still being finalized, the following information outlines the framework and objectives of the program. So the program aims to attract foreign direct investment, FDI, by granting Nigerian citizenship to qualified foreign investors who meet specific financial thresholds or invest in strategic sectors critical to national development. So here's the The eligibility requirements and criteria. Eligibility. I don't know how I had such a hard time saying that. Investors must demonstrate significant economic contributions through investments above a predetermined financial threshold. Investments may be required in key sectors. As I mentioned, the applications process is as follows. Applicants will need to submit evidence of their investments to a designated ministry responsible for evaluating citizenship applications. Further details on documentation and procedures are expected after public hearings and committee reviews. Legislative status. Like I said, the bill proposes amending the 1999 Constitution to introduce a new class of citizenship specifically for foreign investors. So as I mentioned, it's already passed the second reading and is advancing to the committee stage for further scrutiny before final passage in the House and Senate. Ratification by at least 24 of Nigeria's 36 states assemblies will be required for implementation. So, in comparison, as that video mentioned, $250,000 in Egypt is non-refundable contribution. Mauritius offers a payment residency of $375,000 in real estate investments. Sierra Leone had talked about $100,000 and $140,000. And so this, benefits, Nigeria because it's attracting high net worth individuals who aren't of Nigerian descent and who are entrepreneurs seeking to access, Africa's largest economy. It would increase foreign capital inflow, creating jobs and boosting infrastructure projects, at least according to those who are expecting this to go on without a hitch. And it also could potentially strengthen Nigeria's position as an investment hub within Africa. Although it doesn't need much help, it is already known as one of the big investment hubs. So here's some of the unresolved details. One, the minimum investment threshold is not 100% clear. There's been some prospective numbers thrown out there, not 100% clear as of yet. Specific qualifying sectors and application criteria is still unclear. Whether the program will include a non-refundable contribution is still unclear, or if it's investment-based pathways similar to Egypt or Mauritius. The program is positioned to have a strategic move to reshape Nigeria's economy. So that is where we are today. Lots of questions. So let me answer some of those questions before I get into one last look at all the different options available and how they look and what the differences are. So before I do that, let me answer some questions. Maureen Ed says, hey, Joe, all the way from Southern California. Thanks for bringing all the good news about our continent. We appreciate you. Well, thanks, Maureen. I appreciate that. I didn't even read it first before I put it up on the screen. I thought it was a question, but I appreciate the comment. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, thoughts before we do one last overview of the different programs that Nigeria has available? For those of you who are joining late, again, the idea of this live stream, and you definitely want to go back and watch from the beginning. So you want to do this, click the cursor and go all the way back. Nope, sorry. You want to click the cursor and go back this way. And that'll take you to the beginning of the live stream so you can see exactly how we got to this point. But yeah, so again, there are currently 3 pathways to citizenship in Nigeria: by birth, by registration, and by naturalization. What we're talking about today is the proposed 2 additional options: by DNA and by investment. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet right now saying that these are already in place, and they are not. They're in discussion, and they will likely be coming soon, and we will definitely be keeping you guys posted once we get specific details on that. So with that, let me bring back up the particulars for the differences between these different options. So let's get back into the presentation. All right. So far left is the pathway for citizenship. The next over is the time frame. That's the next column. The next column is the cost or expected potential cost. And the fourth column is the key audience. So first things first, the pathway by birth. Again, the time frame is immediate. The cost is free. And it's for children of Nigerians. So those born outside of Nigeria or those born in Nigeria to Nigerian parents and grandparents, or at least can prove they have Nigerian grandparents. By registration, That's 6 to 12 months. That's by, or longer, over 5 years as well. That's anywhere from $500 to $1,000. And that is for spouses or diaspora Nigerians. Then there's by naturalization. That's, I said it's 2+ years, but really it's a lot longer than that. As far as I understood, it was 15 years. So sorry for that misinterpretation there. Some people say it's around $2,000 for long-term residents. And then the last two, again, by DNA, people are thinking it's going to be 60 to 90 days. That's what's been proposed. The cost looks like, we don't know what the cost is. So that $100,000 can or can't, may be wrong. This is put together by AI. Sometimes it makes mistakes. But the African diaspora is who this is targeting. That's the key audience. And by investment, the time frame is TBD. The cost is still TBD. I think some people are proposing 140K, and that's looking for global investors. I think what happened is the last two, this information was actually pulled from Sierra Leone's investment, global investment data. And so that's where it made these mistakes. These numbers are still yet to be known. And the fees are obviously subject to change, which is why they have stars next to them. But yeah, that is the process for Nigerian citizenship. And so that is it, guys. That is how, that is where we are today on citizenship in Nigeria. So I'll leave you guys with a video as to why many people are deciding to move to the continent of Africa. And then I will see you guys all this coming Sunday. Make sure you stay tuned to the platform. If you share this with anybody you know who's looking for Nigerian citizenship, who's thinking about getting Nigerian citizenship, who wants to know what's going on, think about getting African citizenship in general, tune into the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you put on that, turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. Sorry, been a long day. Didn't get a lot of sleep. And make sure you also share this with at least 3 people you know. So with that, guys, I will see you guys all on the next video.
Since moving here, the most commonly asked question is like, why Nigeria? Why Africa? And you gotta think about it this way. I am an African American teacher from America. I've taught for 10 years, and after 10 years, I decided that I needed to see more. I wanted to teach elsewhere. Do you really think that the first place that I would go would be like Guatemala, Europe? You're right, I should have went to Switzerland. Actually, I should have went to Antarctica first. Wait, no, I should have taught in Paris. Why wouldn't I teach in Africa? Make it make sense, y'all. So when people ask me why Africa, why Nigeria, why Africa, why Nigeria, I ask them why not? Why not? Where else would you rather me go? If not Africa? I'll wait. Bali.